You and Rusty?
Hmm.
Okay.
I know someone asked me one time, who takes care of your ranch? We do.
We do.
We do.
We
We're
do.
not that big.
Okay, recording.
Okay. So you're married to Rusty Graham,
Yes, I am.
but that's not the history of your last name.
No,
Okay. So you're a Woody child.
I am.
You are. So tell me about your mom and dad and then your great grand. Is it easier to start from the great greats back?
Probably.
Or, okay, let's start there.
My great grandfather was Dr. Woody, and he and his brother came out from Virginia
Uh-huh.
for the gold rush and spent a brief time probably in Virginia City, somewhere up in there, and traveled around and ended up in Bakersfield and married my grandfather. My great grandfather married one of the Bona girls,
Oh, okay.
Christian Bona's daughter, one of his girls. They lived in Bakersfield until they got flooded out. I don't even remember how many times. And he finally said, that's it, I'm done, and moved to the ranch. And someone asked me one day, why did he pick this spot? Because it's rough.
Right.
And I said, I really don't know, but I'm glad he did. It's at the foot of Blue Mountain. And they had 5 children. They had 3 girls, 2 boys, my grandfather and Stonewall Woody, who was the county assessor in Bakersfield. And then my grandfather married my grandmother, who was a Warringer, and her father had the copper mine at Woody.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
All in the same area.
All in the same area.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they had the 2 boys. They lost one baby in between the 2 boys, and that's all she just had. My grandfather died when he was 46 years old,
Oh, my goodness.
really young. My dad was young, and my uncle was young.
So your grandma actually maintained the ranch.
She did. She did.
I've heard that story over and over today.
Yeah.
World War II, the Depression, the men went off to the war or went off to get jobs, and the women took care of the ranch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She fought hard for it.
Did she?
Yeah, she had help. I mean, she had guys that helped, but she also had people that said, you can't do this. You have 2 young boys. You can't do this.
And what year was that roughly? Do you have an idea?
Well, my dad was born in 17, and he was,
So this is early 1900s.
yeah,
A woman taking place.
yeah. He was probably, I think Ward was 12 or 14 when my grandfather died, and Dad's 5 years, she's probably about 9. He was probably 9 years old, so, yeah.
Does that make you proud that you're from strong women like that?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So now it's you and Rusty.
Yes,
Okay. And so, but your parents had the ranch before.
yes.
So tell me about growing up as a kid on the ranch.
I was the only girl. I was the first girl in the Woody family in 82 years.
Oh
And
my
I-
gosh.
I grew up with all men and all boys, so I was one of the boys.
You were, let's say that again. You were the first girl in
The
the
first
Woody
Woody girl in 82 years.
in 82 years.
Yeah.
Every
So-
other Woody before you
Was
Before you
boys.
was boys.
Yeah, my dad and my uncle were the boys, and then my uncle had 2 boys, and then I came along.
And you run the ranch today.
Yes, my cousins run the 2 boys that my uncle had. They run their half of the ranch, and Rusty and I run ours.
Just
Yeah.
like your grandma.
Yeah, yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
Okay, so tell me about a daily, just tell me about an average day on the ranch.
I don't think there is average days.
There's no average
There's
days.
no average days. Whatever your plan is, you're basically going to stomp that out within half an hour.
'Cause
Just
things
depending on
change.
what you find. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Right now, it's just checking cows. We're fortunate enough to have our own summer ground. We don't have to go on to government ground.
Okay.
So every other day, it's checking cows and checking water. That's the big thing.
Is water.
Because we all run on, most everybody, I think, in that area of the country runs on springs.
Okay.
So you're constantly checking your springs. Last year, several of them went dry, and so you bring your cows home early.
Does
but
that
you're-
scare you?
Yeah, yeah, it does. 4
What does
years
that
of
mean?
it.
What does that mean if your springs run dry? What does it mean?
You have no water for your cows, so you have to move your cows or you bring your cows home to no feed in the drought years. So the water is a precious commodity, not just for us, for everything, even the wildlife. So yeah, you just do what you can do.
And you have how many kids?
2.
You have 2 boys?
Nope. I have a boy and a girl. We have a boy and a girl. And we
Wow.
have-
So is your daughter the first since you, or has there been other daughters?
No, I was an only child, and so she's the first one.
She's the first one.
Yeah.
Huh.
So she has 3 kids, and Josh has 2. So we have 5 grandkids. That's
And do they
great.
come and help on the ranch on branding
do.
days, or
They do.
they
Yeah.
do? So you're trying to instill that in your grandkids.
Yeah. The little one, Rusty says the little one is his cowboy. He's all about trucks, horses, and cows.
And he was the
But
one. He's 3,
He's 3. He'll
and
be
he was
3.
roping yesterday.
Yes, he was trying.
He's trying.
He was attempting. They do what they can. There's a lot of pulls in a lot of different directions for these kids, but yeah, we have 2 of them on the ranch.
And that's a blessing.
Yeah, it is a blessing for them to be able to grow up on that ranch.
And have the same connection to the land that you do.
They're just little kids. They have no idea. They have no idea, but I think as a rule, they all, as they get older, they realize what a blessing it is. There's a fly.
Yeah. You know, I was talking to Amanda and Alicia from, the Bowen and the Rankin Ranch, and I think they're in the same position. Josh might be a little bit older than the girls.
He's 43.
He's 43, so they're in their 30s. They just turned 30. Do you ever, I'm not trying to bring up anything negative, but do you ever have a fear, like your grandmother saved this ranch,
Yes, I do every day.
and now it's you and Rusty,
Yeah.
right? Do you have a fear that, I mean, I know you're not going to be the generation where something happens, but do you,
Well, I
you
don't
say
know
kids
that.
are pulled in different
They are.
different directions.
They're pulled in different directions, and you don't want to, as my mom said, you don't want to rule from the grave. You don't want to say you can never, because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in our lifetime with our regulations, with how tough it is to be in agriculture.
Is that your biggest fear, is a regulatory environment from the state and federal government?
That's one of them, and I think lack of education, not just for the public, but for the governing bodies that tell us what we can and must do and can't do. There's no education. I think if they had to, if they could come spend a week with us.
I didn't think, I told one of you guys, I don't remember who it was, but I told one of you, none of them would last a day in the high country. A day in the high country wouldn't happen.
But it would be a gigantic education for them, and I don't think, and I'm not necessarily saying it's their fault. How hard would it be to educate yourself on every enterprise in the state?
This is a pretty phenomenal enterprise, though.
It's huge, but it gets smaller by the day. Smaller by the day, and not just cattle ranchers, but agriculture in its whole, I think.
It's a food source. It's our it's a food source. It feeds us.
I don't think they...
The work you put in on that ranch feeds me.
Yeah, and that's another thing is, and it's been said time and time again, is do you honestly think that I would produce something that I wouldn't want my own children to eat? Really? No.
Exactly.
And if your kids eat it, my kids eat it.
That's a very good statement, because there's a lot of people that think that, ranchers are doing things to cows that, and that's a very good statement. Your kids eat the same
Yeah.
beef. Yeah.
The same thing.
The exact same thing. And you grew up on that same beef.
Yeah.
And so did the rest of your family.
Yeah. And so did my mom, who died at 93.
93. And Mona, how old's Mona? 86, right? And she's eating the same beef.
Yes.
Yeah. I think if they lived this lifestyle, I think a lot of people would probably live longer if they live this lifestyle.
Yeah.
So you said, kids, the next generation's pulled in a lot of different directions.
They are.
They're all educated, though. As
They are.
Cal Poly. I was talking to Amanda and Alicia. Cal
Yeah.
Poly, Fresno State, Others, they get a college degree. Where did Josh go to school?
Josh went to school at Cal Poly for a while.
He did.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the music business pulled him.
In that direction.
Mhm,
So you say
but-
the music business. So your son's kind of famous, especially in these parts.
He's just, as his niece said, it's just Uncle Josh.
It's just Uncle Josh.
Yeah,
But he was part of a band.
right.
Didn't your husband help with that band?
Yes.
Yeah. And they cut several albums and
Couple. Yeah.
couple records,
Yeah.
couple or records. I don't call them records
No,
anymore.
not anymore.
Yeah,
you
not
can't.
anymore. Yeah. So they did that. So you must be proud of him.
I am. I'm
And your
proud
daughter?
of both our kids. Yes.
What does your daughter do?
Kim would tell you she is a housewife, but that is one of the smartest, busiest women I know. She has 2 kids at home, a 16-year-old, soon to be 17, 27, I don't know.
30, going on
Yeah,
30.
30. And one that just turned 13. And she has a daughter who's married and graduated from Cal Poly, who's 26. But so Kim runs that family, takes care of the books for her husband's business, and helps on the ranch when she can. She's a smart woman.
2 phenomenal people.
Yeah, and very, very much in love with that ranch. So the older they get, the more they develop a love for it, an understanding for it, and
Now, did Kim and Josh both grow up on the ranch?
no, we didn't move back to the ranch until Kim started high school.
Okay.
So Josh went to school up there,
Okay.
and I think he was determined, I don't know, maybe a couple years after we moved up there, that's where he was going to live forever. So Holly got drug along to the ranch. Whoever
That's okay.
joined with him was
She'd
going
be
to
like
live there.
pioneer woman.
Yeah.
She'll start her blog.
Yeah.
Now, your last name, not the name you have now with the Grahams, but your last name, Woody. There's a town named Woody around here.
Yeah.
Any association to your family?
Yeah.
And in what way?
Well, it's my grandfather started. My great grandfather started it.
Your great grandfather started the town of Woody.
Yes.
That still exists today.
It is. It's very, very tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think when Mrs. Janie was bringing you up, or Jane, I call her Janie, but when she was bringing you up to talk to me, she loved your grandparents. Or was it your mom, your dad?
My dad, yeah.
Your dad.
My dad and my uncle. Good people. Really, really good people.
And still part of this community, or were in this community.
Oh yeah, they were born and raised right there on the ranch and died right there. So
On the ranch.
Yeah.
So what are some of the accomplishments that they had?
My uncle was very involved in the Cattlemen's Association, very involved in that. My dad was a rancher. That's what he did. He was probably on horseback from morning until, that's what he did all day.
You guys still gather on horseback today?
We do. We don't ride near as much as we used to. When I was working and Rusty was working, it was a matter of time. There wasn't time. So you came home from work, jumped on a quad runner, went to the mountain and checked cows and checked water and checked cows that were calving. And now you just don't do it near as much as we should. But yeah, we do. Our kids do too. They all have learned. They all rope. They all brand. They can do anything that they need to do.
You know, you said you were the only woman in 82 years in the Woody family, and then your daughter was the second one in over 100, I would think, right? Yeah, over 100 years. You've got strong women in your background. Your grandmother. What kind of legacy do you expect? I mean, you said you didn't want to rule from the grave.
No, you can't.
You can't, because things change. But what do you not expect? But what do you hope for this ranch in the next generation?
I hope that it gives them something to strive for, something that they can look at the history of and be proud of their, I don't know if that's the right term, be strengthened by what has come before them and how those family members have tried to hang on to that ranch, because not a lot of people have a legacy.
It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. I told the story today. My mom was probably in her early 90s. My dad was already gone, and a friend of hers who lived in town told her that there was a condo next to her that was for sale and she should move. And my mother, who was a very elegant woman, said, "Do you not know me well enough to know that I would never move off this ranch? They'll either drag me off or they'll take me off in a box." And she said, I couldn't believe she said that, Gloria. Where else would we live? What else would we do? Nothing. There's nothing.
But you know, you came back to the ranch, you said, when Josh was in high school. So what did you and Rusty do during that time that you were away from the ranch?
He was in construction,
Okay.
and he was in construction after we moved back to the ranch. We moved back as soon as we could. Josh,
Why'd you go? Was it an economic decision?
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was, and you.
Because some people think that ranchers, man, roll in the dough.
Well, I don't think so. I can remember when my cousin and I showed at the fair, we drove till the day that they quit driving a 1949 International red truck and a green set of racks that they bought from Grisdale's. And Jerry and I would hide in the floorboard of the truck as we drove into the fair because, are you kidding me? We want a new truck. Everybody else has a new truck, Dad. Dad would say, yeah, ours is paid for.
Yeah.
So no, we didn't roll in the dough. No, it was, and that's why a lot of people work off the ranch, is so that you can continue to have the ranch. It would not support, it wouldn't support us and our son's family and our daughter's family. There's no way.
No way
We're not
today.
big enough. We're not that big.
And you say you're not that big. How many acres?
I tell people more than we can handle.
More than you can handle?
Big enough. It's
Big
big
enough.
enough. Yeah. But we're not a conglomerate. We're not a 20,000 acre ranch.
Some of the people watching this video, if it goes to Los Angeles and San Diego and all those places, will think, wow, you know, I had just an inside story. We had a group of people come up from Los Angeles, and we took them out to a place on a ranch, and they said, oh my gosh, is this more than an acre? So I'm just trying to, you know, I know it's rude to ask people about their property and how much property they own. I just want people watching the video to understand that you have to have 15 to 20 acres for one cow, right?
15, yeah.
15
And depending
acres.
on where you live, and in all of us up here, our country, it's going to take at least 15.
At least 15 acres. That's feed and water. So, and you have one cow, and you can't make a living off one cow.
No.
And you have one cow. And people in Los Angeles or someplace might think 15 acres. That's only one cow.
I know.
There has to be a reality check when people say, "Oh my gosh, that family has, you know, 500 acres of land or 1,000 acres of land." And when you think about it, that's not enough acreage to grow
No,
enough feed
to produce their food.
to produce steak.
Yeah.
Yeah, or ribs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or any other farm product.
Yeah. So, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you'd want to share?
No.
No. You would never leave this life,
No. Not ever. What else would you do?
just like your grandma said. What else would you do?
What else would you do?
Yeah. And you've been a part of the cattle women for how long?
Probably since I was married 48 years ago.
So you were once a cowbell,
Yes.
because they changed from cowbells to cattle
Yes.
women. Huh? And so, what's your role in the Cattle Women's Association? Do
You know, I don't have much of a role right now. I just retired from my job at the fair a year ago, 2 years ago, and I have every intention of getting involved again.
Good.
I was involved when my kids were small, before I went to work. Yeah, but I've just enjoyed not working and being able to stay on the ranch.
I am really glad that Rusty is now part of the fair board.
Yes.
I really am. I think that he'll bring the experience that we need from the ranching side to the fair board and the agricultural
Hopefully.
side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, well, thank you for letting me talk to you.
Thank you.
Okay. So they're going to do a